All right, you already know I am super excited about this video. I was waiting for this particular palette to come in because I just adore the color story. So let's go ahead and talk about the Adept Cosmetics Emo palette. Hey guys, this is Ashley. Welcome on back to my channel. So as I just mentioned, I have the Adept Cosmetics Emo palette right here, and Adept Cosmetics also launched some brushes, so I decided to pick up a few. But before we get to talking about those, let me go ahead and introduce myself. If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you're older but goodie, welcome on back. My name is Ashley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy and I love makeup, so that's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup. Please just call me Ash or Ashley, and eyeshadow is my jam. It's literally like one of my most favorite things to talk about here on my channel. So if you enjoy eyeshadow just as much as I do, consider joining the family. Go ahead, hit subscribe down below. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So the Adept Cosmetics Emo palette actually launched, I want to say the 21st of March. So it was literally like the day after the McGrath launch. So I was very excited for both of these releases. So we do have this particular palette in a new formatted packaging that Adept Cosmetics did with the Minka palette, that remaster palette with this hard plastic recycled upcycled material plastic container that also has the little holes in the back, as you can see, because you can actually, the palettes are magnetic like most of their palettes in the past, but you can go ahead and rearrange your shadows. So once you open it up, this is the color story, and this is called the Emo palette. It retails for $72, and we have a wide variety of shades. Now 2 shades out of this particular palette are repeat shades, but you can't get the palette anymore, and you haven't been able to get this palette in some time. And this is the House of L palette. So we have Seafoam right here, and then we also have Backcraft. So these are updated with the new Adept Cosmetics shimmer formula, but like I said, you can find these in the House of L palette. This little baby right here, I feel like this is the palette that got all of us stuck. Like, the shimmers have always been good with Adept Cosmetics, but once this palette hit the scene, everyone was like, I want shimmers like this. If you're not going to do shimmers like this, don't give them to me. So here we go. We have Seafoam, which used to be Jor-El right here. And then you also have Backdraft, which used to be Cara Zor-El. So some of the same, basically they said they will look pretty much the same on the eyes, but the formula is really different. I actually feel like the formula is really quite nice on this particular palette, so I did not have a problem with that, but there was an update to the palette. Now, of course, Adept Cosmetics, they always have a whole host of ingredients on their website, and they also go ahead and mention about how the items are multichromes and they're not glitters, and they're pressed pearlized pigments. So even if you see some of the bigger flakes in your hollow shades, just be aware that they are not actually glitters. Unfortunately, at this time, the palette is sold out, but you know she is going to go ahead and restock and continue to restock as needed or as the demand. So this is not a limited edition palette. It says the palette contains extremely sparkly, very pearl shimmers, including 2 multichromes, 3 holochromes, 2 duochromes, and 2 multi-dimensional shimmers, all which consist of various textures. There are 6 buildable and blendable matte shades included to complement your look. The new formula is thinner and more elegant than our older palettes from last year, and similar to the new makeup palette that just released at the beginning of the year. So that's why this palette tends to be a little bit more expensive, because it has so many holochromes and the duochromes and the multichromes in here, coming in at $72. And then also it is suggested that you go ahead and always use an eyeshadow primer with these particular shades, and then that you use your the best kind of works with your fingers versus a brush. But that brings me to my next point, because Adept Cosmetics also released some brushes. So the brushes are made in Japan. They're recyclable materials. They are synthetic brushes, and they're made of recyclable fibers. They are very, very soft, and I am going to demo the brushes. And they also have a brush called the Eyeshadow Sponge. This retails for about $7, but this baby right here, and I will demo it with using my finger versus using this particular tool. These are for the people who do not like to use their finger in order to apply the shimmer shadows. So this is going to be like the caveat. So she created this within the brush line, and it's a extensive brush line where you can use this to apply the shimmers. And I did this with using this tool, and the shimmers apply wonderfully because you know I am a finger girly, and then I will go in with my small little brush to kind of hit the areas that I need to hit and correct you know, my lines. Now the brushes, they range all the way from like $36. I mean, it's a whole plethora of brushes. We got face brushes, contour brushes, concealer brushes, eye brushes, blush, everything you can think of. So the whole entire bundle is $240. And then the eye bundle is like over $100. And then there's a face bundle, but I don't need any more brushes. Like I don't need any more brushes. Okay. So I just picked up a few that I knew I would use, and I'm happy about that. So you'll see me demo, and you'll see me talk about them later on at the end of the video. And of course, like I said, we're going to demo this bad baby right here. Of course, I hope you like the swatches. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple of comparisons of the swatches from the 2 repeat shades that was from the Adept Cosmetics House of L palette, and then they're here in the Emo palette. So let's go ahead and jump on into the looks and the demos. All right, so first I want to go ahead and test this little baby out. So as I mentioned before, I did use the palette yesterday, and I just had to get it on my eyes after a week of having it and not even getting a chance to play with it. And like I said, I picked up a couple of the brushes. So this brush right here, I definitely want to show you how it works. It's more of a tool. It is the eyeshadow sponge, and it retails for $7 by itself, so it's not a bad price point. I did use it yesterday, and I was kind of like blown away. I was like, oh man, this is pretty good because it lays down the shadow just like using your fingers. So if you're a girly or a guy, you're like, I just don't like using my finger, just rest assured that I think that this is going to do the trick, because a lot of times some of these brushes, they just don't pick up the product how you need it to, so you just get way more impact with your fingers. So right now I'm going ahead and taking my Old Faithful, which is, you know, my NYX glitter glue, and I'm just going to lay that down on each eye, and I am just going to go ahead and pat that on MC1. So on this eye, I am going to use my finger, and here you go. So as you can see, this is a really just gorgeous shade. And I only put down the glitter glue. I was like, okay, we don't need the whole primer plus glitter glue. We're not doing any mattes. Just focusing on the shimmer. So we have the finger application. Now I want to go ahead with the eyeshadow sponge. I'm going to take the exact same shade. We have the pigment here. All right, so this is the application on both eyes using, you know, over here we use the tool, and over here I just use my finger like I normally do. My NYX glitter glue, y'all know by now I always use NYX glitter glue, but I definitely just wanted to do a side-by-side demo before we started any eyeshadow looks, so you can see what the tool does. And I think it's really nice. $7. Of course, it's like the old school thing that we used to have, like used to actually come in the little eyeshadow quads, especially from the drugstore, and you can probably buy a whole bag of them single. But I do like that she included them in the arsenal, because you know a lot of times the Adept shimmers, you know, they kind of do best with your finger. I feel that way. Some people get them to work with those brushes, like mainly Heather Austin. She always gets the shimmers to work with her brush, but and it's not to say that I use the wrong brushes. I just don't get the same experience. But I think the tool is really nice, and I think it's worth it if you're going to get anything, especially if you just hate applying those shimmers with your finger, because I feel like the application looks the same on both eyes, which is shocking. So, and also it can help you, you know, those hard pan situations. All right, so let's go ahead and get in the first look. All right, let's start with the first look. I got my primer on. So this is the primer I usually use, which is the matte Contemplative State. And it's a matte paint pot. And whoo child, that MC1, it did have like a lot of glitter particles. It took like a little moment, and I'm sure you can still see a few of them, but let's go ahead and get started.
this might be right. Either you feel it or you don't. Might give it a try, yeah. Our bodies collide. Baby, you're everything I want. Let's give it some time, yeah. Somebody told me I should hit and run, but they don't know, they don't know, they don't know. Nobody knows but us, how we roll, how we roll. Nobody knows what we got but us.
am back, and here is the final look, and I just love how everything came out. So you see I went ahead and used the sponge tool to complete the looks with the shimmers, and I felt like I got a great application. Now you did see me on this eye go back in and just kind of pat it out with my finger and just add a little bit more with my finger. I just wanted to see what it would do, and I don't really feel like it contributed too much more to the shadow. It might have just gave it a little bit more pop, but I was really satisfied with how the shimmer laid down. Now Backdraft is actually a more like of an actual stickier formula, so it was really nice to see how that will apply with that particular tool, because you know those shades, they can be like stickier, and sometimes you need to warm them up on your finger in order to kind of get them to lay down smooth. But with the tool, it did lay down really nicely. So over here we kind of have a nice little halo eye, and then we just kind of have like a little, you know, nice little merge of colors. Everything worked out really nicely. What I would say is, of course, that the shade Light Touch and then the shade Grable, like I just wish they were just more impactful. I know they're supposed to be lighter tones, but on my skin complexion, they show up just a tinge ashy, but it works only because it kind of blends in nicely with the deeper matte shades. The deeper matte shades I really do like, and I think they are coming off really nice and pigmented, but I just wish that these just had a little bit more pigment behind it, because I feel like Grable, that's that lavender type of smoky gray shade, and I really feel like that is a shade that calls to me. And I feel like Light Touch is a shade that a lot of people would like to use to set up their crease work, because it's a nice little kind of pinky mauve situation. Well, all the shimmers are really, really gorgeous. So I would definitely say I do like both of the looks a whole lot. Now for my face details, I kind of went in with some new products because, you know, the Sephora sales going on. So I picked up a couple of new things. I didn't go too crazy at all, for real. But I went ahead and I'm using the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Gel Tint. And I have the shade 10, and I really like how it looks. Of course, I paired it with my little mini Hydro Grip Primer. But I was really interested in this because I was like, oh, it's going to be, I feel like it was just going to be nice. And so far, it feels nice. It blended out really well, and I feel like the color match is really nice. I don't know how it's going to work in the summertime, but we shall see. Then I actually picked up a lighter shade of the Danessa Myrick Lift and Flex Concealer, and picked up shade number 9, which is a lighter shade than I had before, and I have shade 11 previously, and I just kind of mixed the two together, but I put the shade 9 right in here to give a little bit more brightness, and then mixed in with 11. And then I went ahead with my F Camel bronzer, which is not new, in the shade Medium Intense. Went ahead and took 2 of my DD Signature liquid blushes, and this is in Rosy Bloom. They're really nice and pigmented, and I mixed it with Lilac Mist so it just wouldn't be too dark and overpowered the look. Went ahead with my Blend Bunny, my Blend Bunny lip liner, and it doesn't have a name, but it's just a brown lip liner. And this came out when she had the All Done Up set, and I paired it with my Adept Cosmetics Simplicity Gloss in the shade of Nude Beige. Then for the eye pencils, I went in with my Outer Space pencil by ColourPop Cosmetics. Same thing on this eye, but then I put a dab of this one. This is one of the Cream Gel Multi-Liners in the shade Movie Star, because it kind of has that orange hint, and I thought it would tie in really nicely there. So that is the look. So let's go ahead and do one more look.
Yeah, baby, you my only number one gotti. Even in my down times, I can't get you out of my mind, sorry. Hey, I done run 1,000 days just to find you in my way. Nothing like you in this world. Promise never let it go. Baby, won't you calm down? Wanna know how you feel about you and me? Them they do too much, but you in control. Loving that about you. Me, I want it all, oh. She my baby doll, oh. Body they hot, oh. Leading out follow. Me que la tenga poco legio. Yo nu de pe matento un tío. I wanna be wherever you go. Me que la tenga poco legio. You know the way my tento until you got my heart, and I think you know, baby girl. And I did run 1,000 days just to find you in my way. Oh, 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 oh. Nothing like you in this world. Promise never let it go. Oh, wait. Oh, 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 oh. Baby, you my only number one gotti. Even in my down times, I can get you out of my heart, sorry. Yeah, searching away. Yeah, running around every town trying to find you. Yeah, all I ever want was for you to say I do. Me que la tenga popole que yo no de que me atento until I wanna be wherever you go. Oh yeah, me que la tenga popole que yo no de que me atento until you got my heart, and I think you know, my girl. Baby, let me hold you. Wanna make you mine tonight. Oh my, yeah. 1,000 nights searching. I won't stop till you are mine forever. And I did run 1,000 days just to find you in my way. Oh, 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 oh. Nothing like you in this world. Nothing. Promise never let it go. Oh, wait. Oh, 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 oh. Amaro, yeah. Baby, you my only number one gotti. Even in my
All right, I am back, and this is the final look, and I think it came out really gorgeous. So everything is the same as far as my face details. The only thing that I did change up was the liner. So this is Ventura Boulevard. It's also one of those ColourPop cream gel multicolored liners. And you know, I love these so much because I feel like there's so much bang for your buck, because they're like $5 or $7 versus the other high-end prestige brands where you can spend like $20 and $25. So I definitely feel like that's the area that you should definitely save money in. So let's go ahead and talk about the Adept Cosmetics Emo palette. So I think it's really gorgeous. And if I would have to compare between the palette that just released at the top of the year, because it's still pretty early. This actually released in March, even though it's the beginning of April. But the Minka, Minka Remastered, here it is right here. And if I had to compare which particular color story I prefer, I actually prefer the emo. You know, I'm kind of into like some of the grungy tones, some of the smoked out tones, the grays, and then it has the greens. I actually like both of the palettes a lot. I wore this one last weekend in New York and got lots of compliments out of it. But then when I do look back on it, well, I guess it's kind of the same, because actually Toya, the shade right here, I took that particular matte out because it was really light and it just didn't give the punch I wanted it to give, kind of like what's happening in the emo palette. So it's two light mattes right here. So I just kind of realized that at the moment, because I was like, oh, this matte, it shows up so well. It's a more of a mid-tone kind of rose mauve matte. And I was like, but wait a minute, you subbed out a matte that really wasn't working for you. So that's what I would say would be my biggest complaint about this particular palette. I feel like the color story is really gorgeous. I feel like it's really versatile, and it could go deep and it could go lighter also, because even though this particular look is a little bit more bold with using this particular shade, another hollow, and expecting that blue, but combining it in with Allure, which is like a softer greeny gold shade that has, it's not really hollow, but has a little bit of hollow flair to it, or multi-chrome or dual, actually probably more dual chrome. It kind of softens the look out. You can get deep, kind of dark, vampy looks. You can also get very kind of light and mystical looks. And then even with the shade MC1, it just has a nice little flicker about the shade. Same here with this particular standard shade right here. So remember, these two are the dupes, or not the dupes really, they are the duplicate or repeated shades that you found in the House of L, the Seafoam, and the Backdraft. So the Backdraft, you know, is more of a traditional foil particular shade, and so is Seafoam. Really nice formulas, and I feel like you can do, the combinations are just pretty much endless between the shades. You can go neutral, you can kind of do purple, you can go deep dark, you can go green, you can go more mauve, you can go more gray. So there's multiple color stories I see in a particular palette, palette, plus you got the traditional gold, and you do have your pop of blue. But like I said, I just wish that these particular mattes, because I feel like this one, I feel like we kind of see all the time. It may be even this one, but I was kind of going through my collection trying to figure out if I could find a matte that was kind of like Gray Bull, and I couldn't. I have to look some more, but I couldn't really. So I feel like it's a little disappointing. I just wish that shade would show up a little bit more. Like Adept has improved their matte formula so much, but I still feel like they got a little bit more work to do. So otherwise, I really enjoy this palette. I feel like if we fix the mattes, it would be really great. And I also appreciate in this particular palette, the Emo palette versus the Minka, that the shimmer formula is actually a little bit smoother than the Minka. But you know, the Minka formula from the very first palette was actually a more flakier formula. So even though she did reformulate those particular shades, it still has a little bit more texture, where these shades are the more, I guess, kind of more the updated Adept shimmers that we have been used to. Now, as far as the brushes, I do really like the brushes. I feel like just get what you need, because honestly, I didn't need any of these, but once I saw that they had the shimmer sponge, that really sparked my interest, and I felt like this was a good price. It's $7. Now, I didn't feel like I had too much transfer of the shades that was like remnant of what I've used when I went in to dip into the other shades. I was just able to wipe it off on my little microfiber towel right here, as I usually do with all my brushes. But I do really like this, and I felt like this picked up the product really, really well, and it laid it down. So like I said, if you're a person that doesn't really like your fingers, I think that this is going to be something that is going to really interest you. And for $7 and using a code, I really feel like you can't go wrong if you're going to place an order. Now, the other brushes, I do really like them. I felt like that the bristles are very, very smooth, and they're very soft. So I do appreciate that with them not being like natural hair brushes. So I didn't feel any scratchiness or anything like that on my eyes. The brushes are like really light though, so it's like confusing, but I guess they're okay. It's not like, they don't feel cheap when you use them, but when you just pick them up, I do notice that the brushes are like pretty light. But if I was to hold up a Cinch Beauty brush, it is pretty light too, so it's not a bad thing. I would say that the only thing I do have a complaint about is how they were packaged when I got them. Each brush had plastic across the whole brush, and then it was wrapped in bubble wrap, but I guess when they were folded over, so like this particular brush, it was just kind of like bent just slightly. So I don't know if we could do kind of like a little plastic wrap that kind of just definitely protects the bristles of the brush. Okay, I cannot talk anymore. But other than that, I really do like them. And I would just say with the brushes, like, if you want some and if you feel like you need a couple, go ahead and pick them up. Like, I just really wanted to try them. They are expensive as a whole set. I found like even the eye set was pretty expensive, but it was on par with other eye sets that you would get. But because I don't need any brushes, I was like, I do not need to spend that money on them. But I am happy with the ones I got, and the ones I got, I know I will use, and I tend to go for brushes that are shaped like this. So I know I will get a lot of use out of them. And especially this, like I said, was the start of the show. So let me know how you feel about these items down below. Let me know what your favorite look was. I really love this look right here. And I feel like the other look I really love was the second look right here. With the actually with the repeat shade, that was just kind of like a pleasant surprise, because this rose gold, and when I thought about it after I did it, I was like, that's the shade from the House of L palette, because they definitely leaned a little bit more orange versus rose gold. So that was a nice fun shift. So let me know down below if you're going to pick up this palette, or what are your thoughts on it. Let me know how you enjoyed the looks. Are you interested in the brush? Are you interested in maybe just the eyeshadow sponge? And give this video a big up thumbs up. Hit the notification bell so you know when I come out with another video, which will be soon. And subscribe to my channel, because you know I love to have you here in my little makeup family. And with that being said, you already know what time it is. It's time for the chair dance. Chair dance. Hey, 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 chair dance. Chair dance. All right, y'all. Bye.